Hi, I'm Kerry Padrick with you here today for Eye on St. Lucie and an up-close look at community planning that is helping to positively shape the lives of our young people right here in our area. I'm talking about the work of the Round Table of St. Lucie County. You might not know it, but this is a group that is made up of some of the most passionate leaders in our community. Leaders from the school system, law enforcement, government, social service agencies, and more. They meet regularly and put planning into action that addresses obstacles and make a real lasting difference in the lives of St. Lucie County's children. As a special treat, I'm bringing one of those very special community leaders to you today. She has been involved with the Round Table for quite some time. So come on, grab your coffee and let me introduce you to Debbie Hawley. Well, Deb Hawley, it's so nice to have you here. Welcome to Eye on St. Lucie.
Thank you, Kerry. It's delightful to be here and have some time with you. Thank you.
Well, I know that our audience is very excited to hear about the work of the Round Table, specifically this upcoming. It's not a project. It's a focus for the community.
It really is a 3-year focus. In fact, each of the networks have a 3-year time span that they're working on for each of their objectives.
And very strategic as well.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes, indeed.
So before we really dive into that, why don't we take just a moment, because you are very active in our community.
Yes.
Give everyone that's viewing a little bit of background about what you do, not only for the Round Table, but for our community and our school district.
Oh, okay. Yes, I have been. Well, I'm 4th generation here in St. Lucie County, so my roots run deep, which has enabled me really to take part in a lot of things that are important to me. And what's important to me focuses around children and student success. So I mentored and volunteered in our public schools for many years, and then the opportunity came available in 2010 to run for a school board seat, which I did when Dr. Miller retired. Won that seat and was reelected again in 14. So I've been serving now for 7 years on the school board, which is a real point of pride for me, because I see the difference that we can make with our children in that respect. So I've also served as members of Round Table subcommittees for even longer than I've been on the school board. My first one was on the substance abuse network, where we worked to enlighten kids about what substance abuse does to them and the impacts of that in their life and their career going forward. So that was my first exposure. And then 2 years ago, I was asked to join the Academic Success Network and work with them on their strategies and objectives, and was chosen as the chair of that network to lead through this 3-year plan that we've just began this August of this year, and it will take us through the year 2020. I'm also real active with Big Brothers Big Sisters with their program department, and several other committees, DJJ and New Horizons and IFAS and just different ones. So, but all of them, in my heart, I do it because of the children and the difference we can make for the children in each of those areas.
And what you shared are all very high levels of leadership, the positions that you hold, which is something unique about the Round Table.
Yes.
This is an organization in St. Lucie County that brings together collectively executives who are key decision makers, which is outstanding as far as getting things done that are very vital and important to St. Lucie County. So we have members of law enforcement, members of the school district, members of government, social service agencies. It's tremendous the amount of momentum that can be established when you have the committees moving to take action on some of the things that are very important. This is a long-standing group in
over 20 years.
20 years. Okay, so give us a little history of the Round Table, and then let's move to where we are going to really talk about the focus of today. So,
Okay.
1995, is that correct?
Right, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's when the original group of about 6 people came together.
Wow.
It has since grown to 21 different agencies and organizations that are represented. But yes, they came together with the idea of being more proactive rather than having to be reactive to social issues that were impacting St. Lucie County specifically. And that group morphed to include more agencies, and now we work, you mentioned the word collective, we do work collectively, but even more importantly, we work collaboratively to make an impact, a collaborative impact, which means we pool our resources so that we don't duplicate efforts. We're very focused and very structured with the tunnel vision of this is what we want to accomplish, and if we pull this agency and this agency and this entity into it and don't duplicate but put our resources together collectively and collaboratively, the impact we make will be much stronger. And of course that's what we're finding, because we're pulling the experts from each of those fields to work on these networks, and their resources combined together just really makes a huge difference in all the areas that they work on.
I hear the words of my grandmother echoing through my head: many hands make light work.
Exactly. It is. It's a heavy lift.
It is a
but
heavy
many hands do make the work lighter. Yes,
many
indeed.
many hands, and important hands as well.
I think the thing that's really important to talk about with the roundtable especially is we're very cognizant that there aren't any quick fixes. And I mentioned this is a 3-year plan, and we do 3-year plans every 3 years.
Right.
You know, we reevaluate and decide, okay, what are the issues that we need to focus on going forward? And a lot of community involvement comes in the decision for how those areas are chosen. But as I said, it's not quick fixes. We try to build strategies that are sustainable in the long run.
Right. So you now chair the academic subcommittee
Yes.
and the academic network.
Academic Success Network.
Academic Success Network. Certainly we look for our children to be successful in everything that we do, and there are some key components. So you've identified key elements to the Success Network. What are the top 3 elements that we're looking for?
The roundtable as a whole has charged the Academic Success Network with developing the 3-year plan for 3 different areas. The first one being having all of our 3rd graders reading at grade level, and we want our percentages to surpass the state's by the year 2020. The second component is having a graduation success rate of 90% by the year 2020. And the final one is to decrease absenteeism, and by absenteeism I mean 21 days or more missed during a school year, to decrease that number from, it's 14% right now, and we want to decrease it to 11%. So the roundtable really sets the objectives, and then the individual networks come up with the strategies to meet that objective.
All right. Now, in my mind, that is absolutely realistic as far as accomplishment. It's challenging, realistic. We have the tools to get it done. We have the heart to get it done. We have the personnel in place to get it done. And our data over the last 2 years certainly shows that we are moving in that direction. What led you to these 3 things as the most important in order for our children to be successful?
Well, community members are polled, and we ask for their input. What do you think the challenges are for students today?
Okay.
And these were the areas that they felt like, in agreement with roundtable members, that these were really the 3 components that impact our society economically. You know, we always want our students to go to college or go into a career. We want them to be ready when they graduate. It's a direct economic indicator for St. Lucie County. So there really was a lot of encouragement from EDC and the chamber and businesses. You know, we want to hire your students when they graduate or when they get their degree in college. So to make them ready, and to do that, they've got to be able to read by third grade. They've got to be in school. They've got to be on the track to graduate on time with their cohort. So.
All right. So this is something where our parents, our business leaders, our retirement community, everyone has had some type of, or not everyone, but a representative member of all of those different groups has had input. So we've got really a good community.
Yes, we do.
Force moving forward.
Yes, we do.
Well, that's fantastic, because you'll meet with much more success when you've got a lot of people supporting you and moving forward.
When it's important to them, then they're supportive, you know, and they get involved in different areas.
And volunteer support?
Absolutely.
Yes,
We couldn't make it without volunteer support.
Okay. All right, well, so let's kind of go into each one and see where we are, what we're doing, what our community can do if they want to get involved.
Fabulous.
Because I know there's
always
a way.
Always a way,
and
for sure.
We'll take one at a time.
Okay.
All right, so we'll start with literacy.
Okay. The goal there is for each of our third graders to be reading at third grade level by the time they finish third grade. Because we all know that through third grade you learn to read, and after that you read to learn. So if you're stymied in any way and not able to read by the end of third grade, your chances of success diminish. In fact, that's an early precursor to a dropout rate. So we really want to focus on that, and part of the initiatives that we've done is partnering with some of our nonprofit agencies like Big Brothers Big Sisters, Boys and Girls Club, Parent Academy, different ones that provide services to students in addition to what they get during their academic day at school. So that's a huge area that we would love to have more people participating and helping with that, giving children an opportunity to have another caring adult in their life that shares reading time with them. We're happy to give them the skills and the resources to share that time with students going forward. So another way, it's really been a fascinating and fun thing for me, is a lot of our pediatricians in the county have gotten on board with us they'll actually write a prescription out for the child when they come in, you know, to read a book every day with your parent, or get a book off my little library off the shelf when you leave here. And many entities, when you go into them now, you'll see the little libraries there, and the children are encouraged to take a book, take it home with them. They can keep it, they can bring it back and swap it for another one, whatever they want to do with it. We keep those all replenished nicely throughout the district. But it's really impactful when someone like your doctor says to you, you know, I want you to read a book. I mean, they tend to just process that in a different way. And parents do too. You know, it becomes almost part of the prescription plan, the treatment plan for them to do. So that's been really exciting. And we're also the school district, working with our after-school providers to find evidence-based reading programs that would help students when they're there in their after-school times, as well as provide homework help for them and that type of thing. So there's many opportunities. Our goal is to be equal with or surpass the state by the year 2020. We're about 8 percentage points behind the state right now. And it's certainly not adequate. We want 100% of our students to be reading at grade level, and that's the ultimate goal. But taking it in increments is the realistic way to do it. So.
And you've said two things that I think are worth repeating or worth emphasizing. One, you mentioned how it's the availability of everybody to get involved. Our mentors can come in and read with students.
Right.
Well, if that's not your skill set, there's other ways. Or if you run a very busy and hectic schedule, such as a doctor, you don't have to volunteer your time in the schools. You can be that person on the outside suggesting or mentoring or being a role model. You can donate books. You can donate dollars for books.
Right.
If you've got at home boxes full of books that perhaps you had for your grandchildren, and maybe they're grown. You don't know what to do with those. Well, don't just let them sit in a box unused. Donate them to a school or to a business so they can have a little library
Exactly.
in their business.
Yes.
Many, many ways. Let's just think and find a way.
And another way, too, for business owners, if you would allow release time for your employees to go and mentor a child in a school or take part on a school advisory council, perhaps. There's, that depending on your time commitments, you can do an hour a month, you can do a half an hour a week, whatever fits in your time. And we do have this, in fact, our school district, the superintendent has allowed release time for district employees to go. And we have over 40 that are doing that, which is really neat.
I'm one.
Yes, you are
I
indeed.
am one.
You are indeed. And I know you have a special attachment with your littles. So, yeah, that's
Very
a
nice
really
young
neat
man.
thing. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's so important for our district folks. They're around adults all the time, but to get into the classroom and to remember why we're here and why we do what we do. Plus the joy that it brings. I mean, you can't even quantify that.
It is very special, and I do
Yes.
thank you for that opportunity to do
Good.
that. All right, so the other thing I just wanted to mention is you mentioned we want to make those steps to making sure every third grader is reading. At the level we expect them to. It does come in steps. We need to be celebrating those accomplishments each and every year so that we do attain that level by 2020. And as a district, we have continued to grow, and in some cases when the state hasn't, we have.
Right.
So while we're still 8 points below, we are continually moving in the right direction.
We absolutely are.
But you're right, we're not satisfied where we are, and we've got to continue forging forward, and it's that community effort that's going to get us there.
And one of the other areas that I think we're making a huge impact as a school district is the VPK and really starting there. I mean, we can't wait until they're in third grade to start all the literacy skills. So there's a lot of emphasis at VPK level too, and encourage parents that there's free VPKs out there to go and let your child be part of, and the difference it will make in their academic career is just phenomenal. But I have to really tout our VPK providers because they do a fabulous job in preparing our students for kindergarten and beyond.
And we just had an event, Read for the Record, with the Book Quackers, where we had one of our local businesses partner with us and had many guest readers in our VPK classrooms.
Exactly.
Outstanding event.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's neat.
Well, let's move on to our next goal.
Okay.
So that's going to be our graduation.
Graduation rates, right. And that's one that we can really celebrate now as we go into it. The goal by the roundtable was to be at a 90% graduation rate by the year 2020. Well, we have surpassed that already. I'm probably letting the cat out of the bag, but I'm really confident in all of our data that says our graduation rate for this past year will surpass 90%. We're just a few percentage points away from it the year before, so I have every confidence that it's going to happen. But the challenge comes in now in maintaining that. Sometimes it's more difficult to maintain that higher level than the steps become much more difficult to climb at that time. So we'll put some strategies in place, and one of them is going to be targeting middle school students that seem to be at risk of falling behind. Perhaps they have a lot of absences or suspensions, or really failing in a subject and struggling and seeming to lose the desire or the want to come to school and to learn. So we're going to target 2 high schools in particular this year and track the students that have the most absentees and begin to watch them and see where they're falling behind and provide some mentoring help for them. It's too big of a chunk to take all of it at once, so we did decide to target it to 2 high schools that have the highest absentee rates probably, and a specific group of 25 or 30 students, and see what it takes to engage them and keep them coming to school and wanting to be there and wanting to have what they're capable of having. We're a Kids at Hope district, and every child in our district is capable of success, and part of the work of this network is giving them the resources to be successful.
Well, and I think that's part of being very strategic too. With a plan, it's making sure that what we do is purposeful, and as we look at 2 schools and we move forward with how that's going to work, and we identify and use data to process, then we can grow it the next year and put into place what was successful for a broader band of students. That's just good business, you know.
Yeah. Well, part of it is best practices, you know, that during this 20 years or so that the Roundtable has been functioning, there have been a lot of lessons learned. So it's much more strategic now and focused and setting up for success because, you know, communities need success. And if you set the bar so high that it's unattainable in a 3-year period, then it seems really, it's depressing to folks, you know. So take it in the chunks that we can manage and make a difference, which is exactly what the school district did with the graduation rate. They focused in, they knew what they needed to watch and monitor, and were able to have great success with raising
Well, I'm
that
going
rate.
to take it back just 2 step back.
Okay.
Because as we look at what is needed and we do focus and we do those best practices and we look at the data, that data is just number sense. Unless we personalize it, unless we put that relationship to it. Because you can look at data and you can say, oh, well, the numbers say this and the numbers say that. And unless we take it and put that bit of caring into it and make sure that that student knows that the person looking at the data has an interest in making sure that I'm working with you in order to ensure your success, and I need you to do this in order for you to accomplish your goals, then that's when we see the movement take place. That's when it means something, and that's when we're going to change some behaviors. And that's when we see the needle start to turn. So we take the good business practice, we take the strategic goals, we take everything that is what the book says we should do. We personalize it, and we see things having a positive impact. And you're right, when you said that our projections are in the 90s already, ooh, we all want to tap dance right now,
know,
but the official numbers won't be out for a little while.
Yeah, but I just have confidence that we're going to be there. So, yeah.
And one of the things is, you know, all children are capable of success. We really do believe in all children, and those are capital ALL.
Absolutely.
So it's every single subgroup. And our ESE students, I mean, we look at what St. Lucie is doing comparatively speaking, and we are making sure that all of those subgroups are making drastic improvements, and that must be continued.
Yeah,
no child
That's
is
getting
going
it
to.
down to the relationship level, though, that we've been talking about. You know, we see the child, and we get to know them, and what their challenges are, because you know, they may be bringing things from home that are impacting their life or whatever. It's all about making that relationship. And when you have a smaller group to work with, you know, we have 40,000 students almost. It's tough to find 40,000 volunteers so that everybody has their own caring adult. And no matter how old we are, we like to have a caring adult in our life. I like to have a caring adult in my life, and I'm sure you do. You know,
I do.
But it rewards you in a way that empowers you to become successful.
All right, so there's some ways that people can also volunteer and become involved, be a caring adult in a child's life.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I don't want to shy away from that last one. We have about 4 more minutes to talk about attendance. It's so important because one of the slogans this year that we are going to be focusing on is your time counts.
That's right.
So your time does count.
Right.
We want you in school.
If you're not in school, you're losing time. You're losing ground, absolutely. So, and we have made gains in the area of decreasing our absenteeism rate, but it is a challenge. And it seems to be a challenge for a particularly small group of students. They fall into a pattern of not going to school, and it perpetuates itself. And before you know it, they've hit their 21 days out of school. And we monitor it closely. There are other resources in place, truancy programs that help with that. But it really is about educating not only the student, but the parents to the valuableness of that high school diploma. A lot of our students, their parents, grandparents did not obtain a high school diploma. And so educating them about the importance of that. And if you're not in school, it's not going to happen. You're not going to get the scores that you need to move on. So our goal is to decrease it down to 11% at the 21-day or more mark. And we're at 14% right now. But every day that you miss of school, the academic gap widens for you, and it becomes that much more difficult. And the older you get, it becomes more difficult because the subjects are tougher and there's more to learn, absorb, and keep. And it's just difficult if you're not there in school. So we are focusing on ones that are close to that 21-day mark. Suspensions play into that. All kind of factors play into that. But 21 days seems like a lot, and it is a lot with 180 school days, you know. It's percentage-wise, it's just about impossible to make that up. So we'll target those kids and build relationships with them and stress the importance of being in school.
Well, here's a little fun fact. You know, we celebrate students when they graduate from high school, those that have been in school from kindergarten to grade 12.
Right.
Well, my father was one of those. He never missed a day.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know that I'll admit it too. I was too.
Oh.
I never missed a day. All the way through.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah. Yeah, my children hold that against me continually. Just because you did it, Mom, doesn't necessarily mean we would. And that's one of the areas that our community can help too, because if you see a child in your neighborhood and you know it's a school day and they should be in school, you know, go up and strike a conversation with them and say, you know, shouldn't you be in school? What's going on here? And they could become that caring adult for that child and give them a purpose to be there. So.
Okay. All right. Well, as we get ready to close up this edition of Eye on St. Lucie, the scope of the roundtable is very wide. Such tremendous work that they do. Is there one thing that you would like to share with our viewing audience about what you've experienced, what you would like for them to know about the roundtable?
Just that it's probably the most dedicated group of adults that I've ever had the pleasure of working with, and to thank them for their service to our community, because our community's worth it.
And if anyone would like to be involved, how could they get in touch with the roundtable?
They can call the Children's Services Council. They're directly related to that. They have a fabulous webpage to go there, and you can find out more about all the different networks. And if you want to be involved in one of the networks, all it takes is I want to help, and you're in.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
Yes.
Thank you so much. We do appreciate you being here today, and
My pleasure.
Count on us to tap into perhaps your knowledge at another time to be a guest with us on Eye on St. Lucie.
Love to. Thank you, Kerry.
I'm Kerry Padrick, and this is WLX TV. On behalf of the station's team, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. That's all for this show, but we invite you to follow us, like us, and watch us on our social media outlets. And as always, keep your eye on St. Lucie.